one, and you're live.
It's 9:12 on a Friday night near New Orleans, and this is the Supernatural Substation on the United Public Radio Network. I'm Eileen Pastanio, one of your hosts, and my co-host Bernadine LeBlanc is in the back room. There she is. Always got my back.
Got your back.
Crazy chicas. So anyway, it's the last day of June, and fireworks for 4th of July have started early. There's so many sensitive people out there. Oh my God. Don't make me go voodoo on anybody. That's for real. I wouldn't voodoo anybody, would I?
Nah.
Y'all don't know what's going on, but some people don't keep their mouths shut, and they're stupid. So and that preceded us, but we're not going to carry that into the show too far, except to say if you want to know what might happen, just look up doll baby conjure. So next time I might just backslide a little. So here we are, and we are on the last day of the month, and the last show of our month. We usually do the Paranormal Roundup, which is all the topics discussed at length by Bernadine and I. And then I looked, because of our fun experiment with Spreaker the other week, not Spreaker, but Skype. But we were doing good on Spreaker until Skype crapped out. We only had 2 guests this month, right, Dean? We had Lyle Blackburn and David Bennett. Yes. Bennett. And David was gracious enough to reschedule at that the night of the fun, the fun when the lights went out and wherever. I don't know. So Lyle has, and many of you know, he's the cryptozoologist, and he studies unknown animals, anything related to cryptos. And David Bennett was discussing his real life death experiences, not just near death. He actually did die a few times, and so that was very interesting. But something else came across our desk earlier this week, and Bernadine sent this to me, and it is something. It was an email you got, right? You just got out of the blue, kind of an email, and I guess it was wanting Louisiana to be represented in this or something. So it's the heading of it is your paranormal team ready to partake in the world's largest ghost hunt? With a question mark. And apparently on September 30th, 2017, this epic second annual event will stretch around the world to celebrate National Ghost Hunting Day. So far, 5 continents and 10 countries will be participating in the world's largest ghost hunt. There's no fee to register and blah, 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 blah. You just team's dedication, and apparently, I guess, having somewhere to investigate. With a single gunshot start, all 100 teams will start a 2-hour paranormal investigation at the very same time, all sharing the investigation with the rest of the world via live stream. With great intensity, the Earth will meet the spiritual dimensions, sparking activity that last year, in parentheses, proved to be intense. Because of this, you may also be part of the largest collective consciousness experiment that will be offered during the investigation. As one, all teams will be engaged with our command center. Sounds so official. This year located in no less than the amazing Queen Mary ship in Long Beach, California. So they would like Bernadine and her team to be a big part of this, but I don't think you are, Dean. Why don't you tell us why?
Well, no. I just have a bad feeling about all getting together at the same exact time and calling on spirits and the electronics we use. I just don't feel like a gut feeling tells me no. That, this must be some, it just like you said, it sounds kind of like a ritual type thing. And maybe from last year is following us this year with all the chaos in the world. I just don't know, because I just feel like maybe that may open a portal. I may be wrong, but that just what pops into my head when I know that everyone around the continent at the same exact time is going to be doing this.
Yeah, it's true, and it seems like the investigation is like almost like the secondary thing to whatever this collective consciousness experiment is going to be. And usually those either fail miserably and nothing happens, or something happens nowhere near the people who are initiating the thing. So it's sort of like the law of the universe. So what you send out comes back to you. So there's, there could be some guy over in Burma, or some team in
Mm-hmm.
Thailand that is, participating in this, or just even listening into it, right? And then a week later,
in my
stuff
head, it in my head, it looks like, they say it's global. So in my head, I see connect the dots all around the world with all these teams and doing all these things on their time zone.
Mm-hmm.
At the
same time, right? Exactly.
So I just see like a big portal opening and things coming in.
Precisely. And we know that, the scientists over in Switzerland are working on the CERN experiment, which is a particle accelerator experiment trying to discover the material or the nature of the Big Bang. And they are one of these days going to punch a hole into our reality. But a lot of what these people, it's funny, because a lot of investigators, paranormal investigators that I've met over the year, don't believe in magic. They don't believe, this is why I wrote my book, they don't believe in a supernatural reality, which is oxymoronic, because they want to prove that the supernatural exists by investigating and proving that ghosts are real. So if ghosts are real, where are they? Where do they come from? Where are they staying? At the Motel 8 up the road. No, they're in the supernatural reality. They're in another plane of existence that we can't see in this physical reality. And speaking of dangers, which we always do, this could be a seriously dangerous thing. Not only do they not believe that this exists, then it follows that they don't believe any consequences can come from it. You see what I mean? It's sort of like
to me it just feels dangerous, because opening up, it's just like everybody sitting on each part of the globe with a Ouija board,
or whatever,
and an EVP recorder.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
and you can,
it's like,
a
come
lot
on in. So
a lot of them will have a Ouija board, or just a Ouija board.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Not everybody has the equipment and all this other stuff.
And look at all the craziness going on in the world right now. Why do we need more craziness? I just don't understand it. When we do investigations, we're doing it mainly to either do the research for it in a haunted location, or we're helping clients with their problem. Mm-hmm. We're not actually calling in things on a global deal like this, mm-hmm. Especially October. I think it's in October.
No, it's on September 30th.
September 30th. Yeah. Oh, we're going to be... No, we'll be back from...
No, yeah, we'll be back from Paracon.
But I didn't even reply because I just, when you have that gut feeling that something's wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I see what
I wouldn't want to put my team or myself at that kind of risk, mm-hmm. Even though we might get the backlash of it anyway.
Well, these same people laugh at, witches, pagan, whatever, Wiccans, and other people trying to, reach across the world, and do things for, peace or animal rights or and they will laugh away people like that. But they're not laughing at this. And they really should be somewhat, incredulous about this being safe or whatever. The idea of focused thought, focused consciousness, and I don't know what the focus is going to be, but they're going to have to give them some kind of trigger or something to fix on. You talk about the world being dangerous, and that's the world we see. We see this all the time on the news. We see how miserable we are at the threshold of the end of a serious civilization collapse. And the other world, within that world, are people who are trying to bring the outside in, who thoroughly believe in magic, who have done it and done it and done it, and it works for them. And they are working on behalf of dark entities, which have been confirmed by science. Dark matter entities have been confirmed by science based on Hubble observation and other scientific proof that these things are clustered around all of the major cities in the world, all of the major cities, all of the major living centers, all the military bases in the world, not just ours. These things are hovering out there looking for a way to get in. So why do this? Why step over from rational into magical? Because that's what they're doing. They're trying to do a collective consciousness for what? To get in touch with what?
And then they're going to be filming. So
right.
For their town or city or whatever they're in, for their part in this global thing, what if they are the type of team that provoke, curse, invite demons in, whatever they have to do to get activity on their screen at that time, just to show that they got activity.
Yeah.
What are they doing in the background to get this activity so they can have a part in this?
Yeah, who is, it's like who's running the baseline on this? I mean, they're going to be observing it, but who's got, a baseline basically? Who's, looking out for, I guess, results or reaction from, the supernatural? I mean, how are they managing something like this worldwide? They're going to count on people observing with them, but some of those people don't follow any rules, just like you just said. You know what I mean? They don't follow any rules. They go in there and
there's a lot of teams that are not reputable, and they're not reputable for a reason.
Right. So it is a ritual, and it can put a lot of people in danger. And I also wanted to say that while we have, these dark matter entities attempting to get in, we also have a lot of people who are devoted, let's say, to Enochian magic. I talked about it once, but it's so complicated that really only people who are intending to be adept can be adept first at understanding it. But the goal of it is to let the angels in, is to destroy what they call the 4 watchtowers of the world, which are the guardians or the barriers that keep the real chaos out of our world and keep the devil, as he's known, or we say the devil, but Lucifer's name in the pit is Charmazon, and he is laying in wait just to be let out. And so if the watchtowers fall, through the working of those rituals, there are people who are actually doing that. Each of these keys, they're working these rituals, and the last key belongs to the angels that they're working with. And so they're gonna turn the lock, and they're gonna ostensibly get in here too. I mean, this world is going to be ravaged up and down, and this little get together, right? On 5 continents or 7 continents and 100 teams, it just all goes into that flow and that flux of spiritual energy, that is that these other things that are very real are using to get at people on the very minor level of ghosts and attachments and negative entities haunting people, and on these macro levels of the really opening the gate and just letting, we'll have to say it, the apocalypse in. People think it's bad now. It's going to get a lot worse, especially. So it's just not safe. It's every one of these teams, maybe, or the prominent ones, have been on TV saying you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and then they go do it. Right?
And
as I say, not as I do. Right?
Any team can join.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
So like, okay, stop and think about that. You know, where my mind went, right? Okay. So
Yeah.
run away as far as you can. Yeah, I mean, so we've come down on the negative of this. We're like, I couldn't support it. I'm sure they don't care if I do or I don't, but I don't want to be involved. And you don't want to be involved by putting your team in any kind of danger. And it's something people have to say. You know, people who took this up as a hobby when they began watching, Most Haunted and Ghost Hunters way back in the 90s and all, they didn't bargain for all this. That wasn't part of the part of what they were, what they wanted to do was to bring home dead people with them, attached to them, to open themselves up to, negative entities, serious energy and serious dark energy out there. It wasn't what they planned. It wasn't, when they got involved in it, it just wasn't in the small print, when it should have been. So, I don't know who's participating in this. I know you said it was Brian Kano sent it to you, or he was the one.
Well, no, he's the one that's running it, I think.
Oh, that's organizing it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I imagine John Zaffis and all them are involved. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say somebody's involved that's not. But
all I know is so far I didn't see anyone from Louisiana, but it's still early.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I don't know.
Well, if something, we'll have to have somebody on. Say, it isn't, it's not like, I don't want anybody out there saying that Bernadine or I am a coward. We're not cowards. We're not curmudgeons telling you, this. We're not the old women, quote unquote, or the people in our lives saying, don't run with that. You're gonna stab yourself, or you're gonna put your eye out with that. But the mentality or the mental, not the mental, I wouldn't say they're not mentally, the viewpoint of a lot of these people is childish in a lot of ways. Like they think they're invincible because XYZ, because they watch Jason Hawes and they're going to do it just like him, or they're going to do this, or they know this person, and it just doesn't work like that. They want to observe what? I mean, seriously, Dean, they want to observe what? They're supposed to be, I guess you've got to find your own location because they're not going to assign locations. And then
I think it has to be like a reputable place to be able to join in. It has to be something like the Myrtles, a known haunted place. I don't know if they have to do paperwork or not. I didn't get into all that. But maybe they do. Maybe it has to be something like that. But even so, how do you know what team you're letting into your place?
Yeah. And when are they going to stop?
There's a lot of young people putting teams together right now. A lot. That don't know anything but what they see on TV. Right.
That's it.
They don't have the experience in it. I mean, and you have to learn. I learned from I grew up in it. So, I mean, I had sort of experiences and stuff. I wasn't an expert. I'm still not an expert. You learn as you go, but there are dangers on the way.
Right.
And if you don't see that ahead of time, which we tried to teach them so they can see ahead. If this is the path you're going to take, you have to be able to deal with the paranormal problems, the crazies. You have to be able to deal with supernatural or spirits coming home with you. You have to worry about if you have children at home, if you have elderly at home, if you have other people that's going to pay the consequences of what you bring.
Yeah.
You have to think about that before you even start.
They don't, though.
They don't. No.
They don't. They're I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking about this collective consciousness thing, and who's running that? Is it some
The command center
Swami.
talking
Yeah,
about?
well, command center, but who's getting in touch with the whatever? Who's guiding the the contact with whatever is responding from the consciousness connection, right? Who's doing
Yeah,
that?
it's all
A
going to the
medium,
same
a
deal, I
whatever?
guess. I'm not sure.
So I am on the World Ghost Hunting Day, whatever, the Paranormal Summit and the world's largest ghost hunt. Be a part of history on September 13th, 2017. So it will be celebrated on the Queen Mary with a full day of lectures that embrace the skill, expertise, and the mystery of paranormal investigation. Tickets are on sale. Yeah, tickets are on sale. The day, here I'm just looking around, National Ghost Hunting Days. So they have this whole website set up. It's September 30th, and they go into a long whatever about it. So I don't know. I don't have time to read all of this, but it
Yeah, I
seems to
actually
me.
didn't know they had one last year. I mean, I
Yeah,
really
look
didn't
at how
know
much
about
fun
it
the last
until,
year has been. Look
yeah,
at how much fun everything's.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
it existed till I got the email because I'm just,
Find
not
your
on.
closest ghost hunting satellite location.
Yeah,
Okay, this is the other page. Just sort to find your perfect satellites. Washington. Let me see what it says for Louisiana, Florida. Doesn't look like we have anybody because you said no. Ghost seekers, who's in here? Spectral analysis. I don't know. TLC Sisters of the Paranormal. It's in North Carolina, Ohio, Newcastle. I don't know. Maybe. Wait, there's more, and I'm not scrolling down properly. Let's see. Pennsylvania, Ireland, of course. Descendants of Avalon. Okay, so there we get a first kind of view. Descendants of Avalon. When they must mean King Arthur's Avalon. So we got some magic coming in on this. New Mexico. Yeah, and they're gonna twisted history from somebody. Okay, so then the last one is let me go down here. Twisted history, Geelong Gal. So obviously, yeah, there's places all over the world. I guess it sounds fun, and they've got their teams listed, but they don't have a map yet. So, and attendees, but I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I hope nothing happens. I wasn't aware they had one last year, but you know what, Dean? This was inevitable. Really, it's inevitable. Yeah. It can't go beyond a level of this sort of like new thing because these people don't get along, at least on the the sub level, not the lowest level, but those teams out there, and you found this out too, they're cutthroat. They will, and I'm not naming any names, I'm just saying I've seen this. They are cutthroat. They will fake evidence. They will ruin people's lives. They will start boards and and discuss and try to tear other people up. They start things on the internet, especially specifically to attack other people in the same hobby, I guess,
right.
because they haven't reached a point where this is science or this is even quasi-science. Because you know why? Because none of these people, even from bottom to top, will ever agree to submit their findings to one governing board, one governing entity. In Britain, when this first was new with Harry Price and Borley Rectory and the end of the spiritualism, the end of the 19th century, the British Society for Psychical Research was the one to go to. And if your evidence or your haunting passed their muster, and remember the Enfield poltergeist haunting, the one that we see in Conjuring 2 and several others that the Warrens were involved in and Hans Holzer were involved in and Harry Price, even though he's been maligned, but he was the first, a real pioneer of modern paranormal investigation. They all were willing to have objective analysis from a different entity to say, yeah, well, it looks you have this, and say yes or not, or this, this needs more, whatever, or this looks genuine. In this day and age, with the internet, with the popularity of the paranormal, which is not unusual or not, let's say, unexpected with the way the world is doing right now, it's impossible. And not a single one of them will say, okay, well, we'll have some governing board that, nobody knows. That would be the first thing. They'd have to have people that they know,
Yeah.
You have to have
it's kind of hard because of Photoshop and all these other things you can add into videos, voice recordings, and photographs. That's the reason I don't put any of my evidence on Facebook. And a lot of people ask me, why don't you put it? I do not, because I've had photographs stolen from me.
Yep.
Things added to it, that I didn't put. And, and that's how the paranormal problem starts, because that's the people that do take your things, mess with it, put it back, and say you faked it. So no, I mean my website is copyrighted, so nobody can go and take my things. But you've even seen at paranormal conventions, I've had photographs stolen off the table.
Yeah. Yes, you're right.
So I mean, now I can't, even if I had a copy of it, I wouldn't be able to use it, just in case that person that stole it put it on the internet, added something to it. Even though my photo was legit.
You'd be found as a fraud, and then that would that's why when I mentioned the British Society of Psychical Research, there is an American Society of Psychical Research. It still exists. I have never heard or seen anyone who has had their stuff passed through there. And then I don't know what the submission and all that is, but at least a try, could be given. And there are still universities that have parapsychology departments. They do. Sometimes they're attached to anthropology and, whatever, but they do have parapsychology departments or what do you call it? Teachers devoted to that particular wing of study. So it's easy. It's easy to see that anybody who's significantly or, at least minimally famous, like all these people you see on TV, they should be willing to, say, yeah, and our stuff is verified. Not by TAPS, because everybody was scrambling for this TAPS family stuff, right?
Yeah, not I never did that.
TAPS. Right. And then we met them, right? And like, we tried.
No, I didn't meet them.
You did? You didn't?
No.
I brought your asses down here. I'm gonna meet. I walked into one scene too. I went right up. They were filming.
We were just on the street. We didn't even get to go in the bar. Nothing.
Well, we were in the bar. We were in the bar. Didn't you come and eat with us though? No, you weren't there that day. But we weren't eating with them. I'm not saying, but we were eating, and then they came in somewhere. They were nice enough, to pose for pictures with my daughter and stuff like that. It's it's great, but still, their methods are their methods, and they have replicated so much by all of these paranormal teams that nobody thinks outside the box anymore. They just hold this up as some sort of a scientific standard, and it's not, because none of it has been proven again by an independent entity. So, the problem with TV shows, they're not going to submit any evidence that they quote unquote collect, because a good amount of that is faked. It's fraud. Yeah. It's for TV. It's entertainment. A good percentage of it that you see.
I think that's why they didn't use my evidence, because maybe they just didn't trust that mine was legit, because they didn't get it theirself,
Yeah, and then now we know why they don't investigate with any other teams, at least ghost hunters. Mm-hmm. But there is even Most Haunted, which I think is still showing in Britain. And I found that one of the most entertaining ones, because they would run around and scream and stuff. They actually had a psychologist and a historian, and the psychologist, I can't remember his name, but he's the one who outed the medium that they were using, Derek Akora.
Oh my God, I have a story about him.
Oh my God. They outed him. Well, this man outed him, and they were suspicious of him. They began to grow suspicious of him. And one of the things they did was they trapped him by giving him a name that, of a ghost that was supposed to haunt this particular jail that they were. And sure enough, he said he could feel the ghost of, and they had made it up, and it was an anagram of his name, or an anagram of the sentence, Derek is a liar. And he got in touch with it. Okay, but that guy, Kieran, I think he was his name. He had standards, and so did the historian. And then there was another verifiable medium that they worked in who was really true, a medium. They had standards that they set it up to. And when they discovered that there was fraud going on, they cut the guy out, right? I mean, so even if there were some things that were entertainment on the end, by the time the real case was looked at between the historian and the psychologist, or the whatever parapsychologist, I guess he is, they're looking for the actual proof and the evidence, or the historical background that may prove it. And that's like a behind the scenes of the entertainment values. And they've been accused of faking stuff and a lot of look, how many episodes, like Ghost Hunters was on for 10 years, and not every place you go is not going to be haunted, but not every place you go is going to be haunted. So every episode something happened, right? And Grant left because of that, because there was fakery involved. So they got lazy, and people found out, same thing. But I'm saying this, so say it all works out and everybody gets all their you'll have to tell me that story about Derek Apora offline here, unless you want to say it online. It's okay, it's up to you.
I don't care. I don't know the guy.
Well, so what happened?
I was watching the show, because I used to watch that show years ago. Mm-hmm. And I pay attention to every single thing when I watch shows like that, because I'm trying to find people doing something fake. And I always had a feeling about him, So I'm watching the show one day, me and Shane sitting in the living room watching the show. And I see, how they have the family saying all this and that, and the camera pans to the family. Mm-hmm, yeah. Because that's where the energy is, whatever they're fussing about the spirit. Well, Derek's sitting on a bed, a little twin bed. They got two twin beds with a little dresser in the middle with a lamp on it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then another camera goes to him, and I see him close his eyes. First, he looks at the lamp. Then he closes his eyes and becomes like he's being channeled by the spirit. Mm-hmm. And he grabs the lamp with one hand with his eyes closed, and he throws it across the room towards the people. And they had to hold him down on the bed. I'm like, oh, no, he didn't. Because I seen him look at that lamp before he closed his eyes. So he knew exactly where it was to throw it with his eyes closed.
Oh, my God.
Yes, I paused it, and I redid it, and I paused it, and I replayed it, and I paused it, and Shane was like, Dean, stop it. I'm like, oh, no. I was just so mad.
Drove the man crazy. Yeah,
I never watched that show again. No.
As long as he was on. Like they had that other guy that was British, and he was good. I think he really was a trance medium, or at least, and unfortunately, I mean, I don't know. It made the whole thing look bad. I mean, look, they're in, Evie, the woman that ran it, basically was the woman announcer and everything. She screamed at the slightest thing. That's what made that show good. It was funny. It was,
but just entertaining.
It ended up being entertainment, but there were sometimes you can't do this for any number of years and not get real proof of something. And recently, it was on YouTube that they actually did apparently get an apparition, and I think they did a couple of times too. Um, so especially after they outed a chorus. So I mean, you got to come up with something that's going to watch people, that's going to get people to watch you every week. And this all started right with over here, at least with Ghost Hunters, which is based on an Australian concept, and apparently they stole the concept. So, and then in the flurry after that, everybody was, we're a TAPS team member, we're a TAPS team member.
Yes,
All
I didn't
that
do that.
was the Atlantic Paranormal Society, and Steve Gonsalves, who is Steve Gonsalves, he was the one who founded the Atlantic Paranormal Society. And these two guys were plumbers for real, who just had an interest in it, like anybody else who has an 8 to 5 job or a 50-hour a week job, and then goes and does this on the weekend. That's all they were, And
I really liked them at first. I really did. I watched them for a long time until the fight started and the arguments, and it's like everybody just got depressed all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, because
that was before Grant left.
Yeah, but they were having consciousness issues because I don't know, people were calling them frauds, and then they had breakups with their wives and all this other stuff, and they were boohooing all they want. They got like $62,000 an episode for the big guys, Jason and Grant, for him to walk away from that, and he did that after somebody noticed a fishing line on his on his jacket, and so that it could be. Yeah, he was.
I didn't know that.
They were on some episode about something, and then the ghost was supposed to reach out and touch people and all this other stuff, and I guess it wasn't happening, and they saw the fishing line in they had it hooked to one of his shoulders, and so it would pull from behind him. And when it happened, somebody saw it, and somehow it got shown, and it showed up on the final show, and then it just blew up. And then Grant ended up leaving. I guess he just felt like he couldn't go on. I've been a fraud or whatever. Look, there was an episode in their second season, and they were supposed, maybe their first, they were supposed to be using a FLIR, a thermal camera, right? And they were in some place where it was a locker room, like an employee locker room or something, that's supposed to have been haunted by some man, where the doors would bang and stuff like that. So they went in with the FLIR, and they're looking around, and all of a sudden they see somebody, what looks like a man, the image of a man, and so they zoom in on it, and they're like, "Oh, it's a ghost! It's the ghost!" And they pan up a little bit, and you can just see the outline on the man's hat, because he had like a baseball hat on. It said TAPS on the top of it. It's like, and I was like, this is not even entertaining. And then they went to the what is it, Ohio? I think it was Ohio, or was it the other one, Eastern State? I think it was Eastern State Penitentiary, and they faked a shadow moving because one of their khaki pant legs was visible under the sheet or whatever they were wearing, some black thing. I was like, these guys are just, and they kept doing it though for 10 years because of people like the ones that are going to participate in this event. So I got, while we were talking, I got to the bridge experiment guides, and we're still talking about, we'll get to our roundup in the next hour, but we're still talking about World Ghost Hunting Day. To create a web of consciousness in order to establish a reliable bridge of contact between dimensions. One team, one goal, many locations. And then they go on and tell you what, team member requirement. I don't know about you, Dean, but I don't feel comfortable with these people opening up any kind of whatever to any dimensions. Okay. Do you?
I'm staying home that night.
Staying home? I'm going in church. I mean, it's like, it's an exaggeration, and it's not really, it's not an overestimation of what could happen. It's not whoever's organizing it. They're doing that. They're doing it for money and, whatever, as usual. I mean, it's now a business, It's what could happen to the people that are participating. And they apparently have spectator, whatever available. But, it's what could happen when you participate in something like this. or you let something like this into your own personal space. It, Alice in Wonderland, I mean, down the rabbit hole or the Matrix pill, nothing compares with it. And, like I just said, I'm not comfortable with some of these people being my guide to a bridge to a new dimension. I'm just not comfortable with that. I am not. And I will tell you, like I said at the beginning, if a bunch of witches or a bunch of voodoo practitioners or, wanted to do something worldwide, they'd be hooting and hollering and laughing at them, Yeah. And it's like, what do you mean? I'd like to tell them these people get real results from contacting spirits, the same spirits that you deny. So why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Because, seriously, you're supposed to be doing the same thing. Oh, wait, the supernatural, it doesn't exist. They just want to prove the paranormal. Mm-hmm. And the proving the paranormal, quote unquote, okay, is what they want to prove. That what should be proved is that you've had a paranormal encounter with something supernatural. That's what you're trying to prove in all of these people's houses and all these buildings, that this has taken place. Not you're going to research the paranormal. Well,
I think that they're just banking on finding whatever spirits haunt that location. Yeah. I don't think that they may be looking at the big picture.
Well, it says here, all paranormal teams will officially begin their respective hunts at the same time. Okay, and the teams in different time zones will start when the shotgun goes off. Who they're shooting.
Oh yeah, go to New Orleans.
Bang! This officially it will end 2 hours later at 12 a.m. a.m. Eastern time. All teams have guidelines. More importantly, our goal is to secure a solid, reliable bridge of contact between dimensions. We are betting on the power of unified human psyche to accomplish this formidable experiment. Indeed, this will not be a typical ghost hunt per se, and will rely on using no methods of focusing energies to build that bridge. Why call it, World Ghost Hunting Day? I don't care. Whoever comes across this in the archives, because I don't know if anybody's listening in the room, and we are getting other listeners later, from the archives. I'm telling you that these are not the people you want to guide you into, a portal experiment between the planes of existence. You really don't want what's out there to get in here, because people think we have problems now and with what's coming down the pike. But, I think in a lot of ways, evil, and I'll just put it under that, they rely on the stupidity of humanity. And if you get enough people together, enough stupid people or uninformed people or skeptical people or, desperate believers, stuff will happen. But sometimes it isn't what you expect.
And what about the people at that same exact time that doesn't know about the experiment, that may be satanic worshipers or, just doing some bad occult stuff at the exact same time?
That's a good thing, because we know that on Halloween, right, is the time, the day and the time when the veil is thinnest. And not only that, but at each of the quarter turns of the year that that witches, in the witches calendar, they have the Sabbaths and then the high days. And at each of those, there's everybody doing a collective whatever. And they're using the power of all of the energy, that is just generated by everybody marking this particular event, Halloween especially. And it's an especially good time to contact the dead, necromancy, raise the dead, and all this other stuff. And at each of these holidays, the energy is great. So, you're even told to go out and just feel the energy. Mm-hmm. It's not like this is going to be, I just had this image of the original Ghostbusters movie, that, the Stay Soft or the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd, I couldn't think of anything else. That's what I get with this. It's like, here he comes. Bring some graham crackers, Gene, you got Hershey bars and seriously. That's what I had. It's like
I'm just confused at why this is even happening.
everything happens for why, Dean? Money. I mean, they say it's all of these high. We want to get in touch. Typical ghost hunt, whatever. They're going to have. Okay. Oh, in addition, let's see. All psychics. They're going to have some psychics to prepare their spirit guides. So
Oh,
apparently they're
oh.
recruiting psychics. You'll receive. Wait. Spirit guides, higher level energies of the upcoming contact that will occur. Personal amplification methods are encouraged, be it quartz at the location, etc. Communicate that we are preparing, and the other side needs to get ready as well. In addition, we need our psychics and energy workers. Blah 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 blah. I'm sorry. It's just I don't know. I value my sanity a lot more than letting these people take me on some sort of a magic carpet ride. You know, it doesn't end good because it can't. You know what I mean? You're not gonna find God out there. You're not gonna find angels, and you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna find that. That's just my feeling of it. It's and they are looking for these types of fluctuations in energy to ride them basically into our world.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's what's going to happen.
I guess. And I guess we can just sit out there and wonder. you know, Gee, it's going on tonight. Oh, I don't know why it's a September 30th. They should have done something either closer to a little bit earlier, which would be around the time of Paracon, I guess, but for the autumn equinox, or they should have waited until Halloween or the week of Halloween.
Wonder what the moon will be that night.
I'll have to look. Occluded. That's what I say. I don't know if Look, I'm not, and I don't want anybody to say I'm calling anybody stupid. I'm not, but I know that a lot of this, just ends up bad for people that participate. And sure, they're guaranteeing themselves, hauntings to study forever. Um, but at what price? We're in a serious crossroads in this world right now. It really is. They're good. I mean, people laugh and make fun of me or whatever, and good and evil are really fighting each other in the world right now. And does anybody want to hook into that? The coming of the beast? Who wants to hook into that?
Not I.
Anyway, the man in the room is telling us it's time for a break. So we will discuss the other topics of our month on the other side of the break. Stay tuned. There's more of the Supernatural Substation coming up in a few minutes. He's trying to act early.
Oh, here we go. 5, 4,
Fuck
3,
card.
2, 1. You're
I bet y'all wonder what we talk about when we're listening to Led Zeppelin and stuff. Anyway, we're back at the Supernatural Substation. Somebody has not made an appearance yet this week. He's telling me that he found a good crossroad to throw down a doll baby conjure. So I'm gonna do it this weekend. No, I'm not. It's
I'll
fortunate.
make the doll baby.
It's fortunate for a lot of people that I don't give in to that temptation anymore. It's very fortunate.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so we were talking about the World Ghost Hunting Paranormal Day, and this is the last I'm going to say in the whatever's about it, which is all about the 2016 one. They're going to have a psychic pillar, and they're going to have like code words and all this other stuff. So, we just pop popcorn, I guess, and watch.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere near that. Thank you. I don't need any of the people, that think they're psychic and think all of this stuff. And then ones who really, I don't need that. I don't need a guide for whatever. So, I mean, seriously, if there's anybody out there now interested in it, I would seriously reconsider or give it some serious thought, because stupid is as stupid does when the supernatural bites you on your hand or your ass. Right, Dean?
Yeah.
So anyway, earlier this month we had Lyle Blackburn and David Bennett. Lyle is a cryptozoologist, and he talked about Bigfoot, but he also talked about other cryptoids, I guess you'd say, like black dogs, big cats, and all this other stuff, and Loch Ness. And so I thought he was a great guest.
Yes.
It's not my particular, I guess I don't approach it from any kind of a quasi-science or anything like that. I approach it just from sort of like a folklore perspective. So what do you think about
I really liked
Bigfoot,
him.
etc.? Yeah.
we had actually met him at
Pensacola.
Pensacola Paracon
Mm-hmm.
many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 at least. It was 2010, I think. I don't know that particular line of study. I it's sort of like the UFOs to me, but it's not as remote as that feels to me. It's like there are vast areas of the world, believe it or not, that there are places still unexplored. There are places man has not gone to, and there are peoples that we haven't found. And I say that like that because there are peoples, tribes, etc., that we haven't found, right? Because we can't go into their areas. And then recently I talked about one. There's this tribe somewhere. I guess it's somewhere off South America. They look kind of like the Yanomamo and the ones with the short hair and all. Green Inferno, right? They can't find anything out about them, because whenever somebody goes to go there, like, on a boat or whatever, they take them and eat them. They just don't come back. So
Cannibals.
they have to be satisfied with like planes, like flying over it to try to get the lay of the land and everything. And whenever they go in an aircraft, I wouldn't say that, but if they go in a helicopter or a plane, all these little people run out from, the woods and start throwing spears up at it. It is literally a lost in time group of people. So if that can survive on Earth, I am sure that Bigfoot can. I am sure that a primate type mammal, almost human, whatever, can survive and not be found. Of course, there's a lot of people looking for it. But in addition to that, my personal feeling is that Bigfoot, in a lot of ways, is supernatural. It's a supernatural entity. And again, people are seeing it. Why? Because people are looking for it and people are thinking about it. And then it manifests, right? Which is from the last hour we were talking about, the power of thought. So what do you think? You think it's real?
I don't know. I asked Lyle, I said, well, they always see the the big Bigfoot, but where's the family?
Back
I
in the
know they
cave.
can't just be one, throughout the whole world, one that lives forever. They have to have a family somewhere. And if they were smart, they would stay away from humans because we just don't have any sense, because,
We don't have
yeah,
brains.
we
Right.
don't have brains. I mean, they even have a show, Killing Bigfoot,
Yes,
and they
we're
argue
talking about
about
that.
it. Well, Lyle said he was actually in the room for the commercial,
Yeah, when they were talking about you're
the
going to kill
preview.
people.
Yeah, he said he was in the room. I'm like,
Because it was because there's a good chance that that's a man in a monkey suit, in a big
yeah, and
gorilla
it
suit,
could be,
and you end up killing
a goofy
somebody.
person that says, "Oh, let me dress up like big," because they do have costumes,
Oh, I know they do. Yeah, or
you
you can
know.
just get a gorilla costume because at a distance, they
Yeah,
can't seem to get close to it.
and the goofy
But
one would be, "Oh, let me go get shot."
it'd be like you missed that episode, and now you're dead. You didn't know they were
Yeah,
coming with
we
guns.
killed Bigfoot. Pull the mask off.
Because you know what, and I told this to Lyle, it's like even if we found it, we would kill it because that's how mankind
Yeah,
is. We
yeah.
would study it to death, kill it, dissect it, and move on. And just another extinction that we've caused on this earth. That's what. So I'm kind of glad that they really never have found actual body, actual bones, actual proof.
Yeah, I think the aliens are more, intelligent than we are, and maybe
yeah,
they're looking down on us like we're a bunch of lab rats. Like, what are they going to do next to each other?
yeah. They're watching from a distance. That
We're in
must
a
be their
maze.
drive-in movie. Yeah, it must be. Now I did see a program where they had like a full-grown one and a smaller one. It wasn't a tiny, like a little kid size, right? It
Mhm.
was like a junior, like it would be like the son of Bigfoot. And two of them were seen together. And that was it. There was I don't know, there was a show, it was on the same show where allegedly Bigfoot, blocked in a pickup truck with some big old heavy trees. And the trees, at least in this episode, were substantial. And so I don't think, it leads me to think that I don't think any of the production crew was out there putting trees. And I don't think these men could fake that because it took all of them to lift this tree and just move it so they could get the truck out. So something did that.
It kind of
But
reminds me of, remember, I don't know if you remember, but like they have photographs of the circus people way back in the 1800s.
mhm,
They had a family that were covered in black hair,
yeah, yeah.
face and all.
They called him they called the boy the wolf boy or something like that. Yeah, and there's a name for that condition. I don't know if it's hairstyle. I know there's a name for it, and I can't look it up right now because I got all this other crap up. But yeah, it's right. You're right. They could be a group of people that were like run out of their hometown or their village, and now they live in the wild. I don't know. I go between. Um, it's just a supernatural entity. It's something that manifests when they're looking for it, and when their collective consciousness, there's that word again, that phrase is focused on it, um, and it being something not as much of a big deal as they think. In other words, an undiscovered monkey type thing, an undiscovered, and then, like I said, if they find it, they'll eventually kill it to categorize it, and we'll end up killing off Bigfoot because that's, I kind of like I root for Bigfoot a lot of times because we are just, mankind. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
No,
And
I
if it was something supernatural, it could be even shapeshifter type thing because that's what they're
hmm
looking for.
hmm yeah, because the Native Americans have told them their viewpoint on it and the viewpoint of their religion and their shamans, their spiritual practices. That it's not a fully solid walking around being, and so they have to be looking from that point of view too, that it could be a supernatural manifestation. And sometimes I guess it becomes more, um, substantial when it interacts, let's say, with Native Americans doing rituals, either, offerings or just doing rituals to protect it or whatever, or to draw it closer to them for whatever reason, then it becomes more substantially real. It's kind of like and Lyle and also Nick Redfern talked about the Men in Black and the women. It's kind of like in that, although those are associated mostly with ufology, the UFOs and all that. But I know that I want to believe that one exists, and that's the abominable snowman, the Yeti in Russia or in Siberia. I really hope that one exists. I really do, because what would Christmas be without Rudolph and the Abominable Snowman?
Oh,
I'm not making fun,
but
seriously.
he's so cute.
Yeah, Rudolph? Oh, yeah, the toothless.
No,
Yeah, I know he is.
the abominable snowman.
Well, I mean, it's funny that, and here's another thing. There are a lot of people that say you're crazy when you cut out all of the little continents and you put it together on a table, everything was connected at one time. And I'm not getting off into flat Earth and globe Earth. I'm not, I don't believe flat Earth or anything like that. The world's a globe. But at one time, there were areas that were connected, that people kind of just say, yeah, it wasn't. Well, yes, it was. Siberia and Alaska and all that were connected. And it's interesting because here you've got Russia, in Russia or in northern Russia, the Yeti, and down into the Himalayas, right, into the south parts. And then you've got in the Northwest, particularly the Northwest, a concentration of Bigfoot sightings of this other creature. Okay, so one went further south, and maybe its hair, it evolved with a different sort of physical, thing to protect itself, or the thing. Its hair just, for its, like if it would come further south, like dogs and other animals, and it would be hot, then they would shed their hair. And the other one's white or more furry.
And what if it's just old and it has white hair?
Yeah, maybe it went gray because all these people.
That's what we do.
It's just, where can I go, to get away from it? Look, Bigfoot, if you find out, let us know. Seriously. Mm-hmm. Now, another thing I think we talked about with him, with Lyle, or I don't know if it was with Nick Redfern, but I think we kind of touched on it, was those night walker things that were filmed, the things that look like the big pairs of pants walking down the hill. Mm-hmm. Remember, we talked about that, and then it had a little baby one, and I think it was Nick, but I think we brought it up with Lyle. Yeah, and well, he had the same, basically the same feeling about it. Nobody thought it was an alien or anything, but he did talk a lot about sea monsters, or the Loch Ness monster, mm-hmm. in Scotland. I don't know. Do you believe it's real?
I don't know. I think I seen not a video, but a photograph somebody had put up. There was like two different long-looking white pants.
Oh, that was the Nightwalker thing.
Is that the Nightwalker?
Yeah, I was on the Loch Ness monster, but yeah, that's it. That was the Nightwalker thing. I don't know. I get creeped out by that.
Yeah.
I think because I am creeped out by all remote cameras. It's just a thing with me. Like, security cameras and stuff, it does creep me out a lot. I don't know why. I think because we're looking when we see it, it's always a little lag behind. So what we're actually seeing, I had someone from the Navy explain this to me. What we're actually seeing when we look at it is the future. In other words, by the time it gets to us, it's already walked or it's already done. So I don't just put it down as Eileen does not like, remote camera, webcams and all that. But that particular thing creeped me out just in the way, and then you had Fact or Faked Paranormal with that cute guy, Ben Hansen, and then the other people, mm-hmm. whoever they are, because I don't look right. I don't look very much past him. Well, they went out there and they tried to fact or fake it, and whatever. And the problem I always had with that show was that the average person is not accessible to a lot of the crap that a network can get to, recreate the situations that they're researching. Like you'll see them, there's supposed to be this in the sky, and so they send them out there, and they got all kind of gizmos and a pulley and a crane and all. It's like
their command centrals in a camper,
right? And and most people don't have this stuff in their backyard. So like fake,
right.
Like there was one that they were looking at when the girl was supposed to levitate off the bed. And even though they kind of recreated it, the problem was nobody had this winch and pulley in the bedroom or anything. It just, so I was like, what is the point of that show? To show you, we're going to show you things. Well, we're going to show you things that happen, and then we're going to use our big budget and our bank book to recreate it and make you and say it could be done or it couldn't be done.
And the alien that circled the bedroom. I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
They put a doll on a string and circled the bedroom with it.
There was one early when they first came out that was, they went up to Missouri and they actually talked to Greg Myers of Paranormal Task Force, who was in some documentaries. I'm not going to mention the names of, but he had his team, Paranormal Task Force, and he had a guy named Tom Halstead, who was a photographer that photographed a lot of the footage or the pictures, the still pictures of Zombie Road, right, in Missouri. And it was a haunted truck stop. I do remember that because they were trying to recreate a photo that Tom Halstead took at this, this legendarily haunted truck stop. I think it was an abandoned truck stop, and they couldn't do it. So that was one that I remembered. Chalk up one, lick my finger and go chalk up one for somebody. I mean, Tom's Halstead is now dead. Greg Myers is still, I think he still runs the Paranormal Task Force, but the show was boring. It was just eye candy. Turn down the sound and look at Ben Hansen, which I'm probably old enough to be his grandmother, so it's kind of creepy. But but anyway, well, I'm older now, and so is he. But never mind.
Stop it.
Just cut me in half and read the rings, right? Dust and cobwebs. Anyway, no, but we covered some of that like that, but we covered Loch Ness Monster and Champ and all these sea creatures. There's another lake in Africa that is famous for its sea serpent, so I always kind of leave open the door that, because every so often and more frequently now, fishermen and Navy boats or ships and other people merchant ships will pull up stuff out of the ocean, out of the sea that they have no idea what it is by the time they get it, because they kind of have to do reverse zoology, or ichthyology to find out what it could be, if it's a fish or whatever it is. They're pulling this stuff up out of there all the time. And we only know 95% of the world's oceans are unexplored. So that leads, at one time I heard a theory about Loch Ness being, it's an inland loch, so it's an enclosed inland lake. And somebody posited the theory that the bottom is actually open, that at the bottom there's an exit to the sea, and that this Loch Ness Monster, what they were seeing in a certain season in Scotland, summertime, which is most of the time they see they see in wintertime down in Africa a similar thing. And they were trying to say like maybe it migrates like other fish, or it goes south for the winter or whatever, and maybe it does that. To me, there could be a plesiosaur out there. There could be a family of leftover dinosaur like whatever, because it involves the ocean. On land it's more difficult, like you have a Bigfoot.
It's because easier to hide in the ocean.
There's stuff. Look, I'm telling you, with Fukushima on the Pacific, good, Godzilla's coming. I mean, seriously, it's coming. Something is mutating down there.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to know what it is. But I like to believe that that Nessie's real. And then there is the backstory of that particular location, Loch Ness. On Loch Ness, there was Boleskine Manor, which was built on like a 12th century foundation, and Aleister Crowley owned it. And significantly, he owned it prior to the reports of seeing a sea serpent in Loch Ness. And so, in the occult community, or from the occult perspective, a lot of people have suggested that Aleister Crowley did the rituals and created a monster, and it lived in the lake, his lake, basically, when he owned the house. And this was like further backed up when Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin bought the place. He was quoted as saying that he had seen it, and he kind of agreed with that theory because Crowley was a mage. No matter if you like him or not, if he was good or bad, he knew his magic and he knew what he was doing. So maybe it's a magical creature, which is kind of scary, but kind of real intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, you never know. And then the house all burned down. More recently it burned down. But, I like to think Loch Ness has something undiscovered that survived, that can basically, evade mankind for a long time. That's my feeling on it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it's easier to hide in the ocean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there are some deep, deep, deep areas. And just last week, I read an article about an Australian dive, or an Australian project where they were going down in what they call the abyss, which is off the western coast of Australia, southwest, I think. And they found a bunch of new, creatures, fish, etc., down there, worms, fish, starfish, a whole that they had never seen. So, if somebody said, yeah, something's hiding down there, I'll say, yes, you're absolutely right. And I might move inland, if they start seeing it, it starts coming up. So, I mean, I guess it's interesting, the cryptozoologists, you have to have sort of a sense of humor, I guess, and not get too fixed on ideas, to be open for everything that could come along. I guess. I mean, that's kind of what the impression is when left, from Lyle. I think that's what he is. He's pretty easygoing about not being so strict, and pigeonholing everything. So,
right.
as science would like to do, real science would like to do. So then last week we had David Bennett. That was an interesting guest.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. And the stuff that he talked about, to recap his story, he died 3 times. Well, twice, and then in one, he said the second incident was more of an out-of-body experience. Mm-hmm. But to hear him tell it, there's no way that you don't believe that man, that what he's telling you is absolutely true. And I was watching a video before we had him on the show, and someone asked him, what is the light? In other words, the light that everyone sees at death. And they describe it as the light or the tunnel of light. And he said, the light is love. And I was like, that's actually very deep, no pun intended, because his first incident was a drowning because he was a diver. So I'm not making a pun there, but I'm saying, yeah, that's what it is. And I expressed at the time that the closer I get to it, to the big D, I'm not sitting pretty. I'm not ready to. I guess I'll have to be ready when it happens. I don't know. But what did you think of David Bennett and his testimony?
I really liked a lot. I mean, he had a lot of insight of things that we may never experience until we get there. And I think people like him are brought back to educate others about what's on the other side, because there's too many people that are afraid. I was telling my cousin today that was here, I'm like, with everything going on in the world, people are afraid to leave their homes now because they're afraid, if I walk out or go to Walmart or go somewhere, I may be killed or shot at by accident, somebody trying to have a shootout somewhere in a parking lot. Right. But you can't be afraid to live your life. If you're meant to die at that time, there's nothing. I mean, something could drop on your house if you stay home. If you're meant to die that day,
Hmm.
that's going to be your day regardless.
And if not, then, you know,
So,
it and
be
the other
happy.
thing is the intrusion of everybody talks about this, free will. We learn that when we're
Right.
little, especially if you're Catholic, we learn about sin and free will. And if somebody's uses his or her free will to kill somebody, and it was somebody who really, like, it wasn't their time, because I don't think God sets it up where we're going to be murdered, and that's his way of taking us out of the world. I don't think that. Disasters and other stuff that are, inexplicable, mudslides and all this other stuff, that's something different. But I don't think he puts you there and then says, at year whatever, you're going to be shot by some thug in New Orleans. I just don't think that. But it's the intrusion of their free will and then making bad choices, with their free will. Like just last week, in New Orleans, which is now murder capital USA. Avoid it if you can and spend some money somewhere else. On the high rise, the interstate going over to New Orleans East over the Industrial Canal. And if you've ever been on it, it's hard to get. I mean, it's a big old bridge. So somebody's tooling along down the bridge and comes ground level again near a street called Cheffington Highway, and a stray bullet went through his car. So he pulled over and he had like 2 bullet holes, and it looked like one deflected and one went into his car. So, and then the same week, this almost exact same place, another car got shot, and this time it apparently hurt whoever was driving. And then there was another incident with a shooting, but it was like a road rage type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right there, all by the same. It's the Wild Wild West, right? So this
it's
is how,
happening in Lafayette over here.
and
Same
everywhere.
Thing.
It's like you're driving along in your little cocoon, or you're tooling along in your life, and you are intruded upon by these, the actions of these worthless criminals, who do stuff for no reason. I don't want to get too political, but I know I have to watch the news, and there was a law passed called Kate's Law, which was in honor of that girl, Kate Steinle, who was shot by an illegal immigrant, leaving that alone. It could have been anybody with a gun, and he just felt like shooting. So he shot this girl.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a decision. And that's a decision that you're going to be held accountable for, to take another human life. And to be so nonchalant about it, like he didn't, like, oh, well, she's dead, But I mean, at some point, you're going to have to answer for that. At some point, everybody's going to have to answer for what they do. And whether you think it's God, or it's, whatever, the great whatever you think, or it's Jabba the Hutt, or whatever you think it is, you're going to be held accountable for what you do. You don't get a free ride, especially if you're out here making the world more miserable for other people. So the idea of near-death experiences and coming back, and being able to be a witness for what we can expect, what normally we can expect, like most of us average people who don't shoot people and kill people and all this other stuff, can expect. Still, you got to go through death to get there. And that's the part that I just don't like. I don't know. I used to say I didn't care. I don't care, whatever. But I really do. I'm not too happy about it. Now, I mean, to hear him tell it, it's a beautiful place. He was greeted by, he spoke about a soul group, which is an idea that has been up there a long time in believers of reincarnation, etc. But he was told about being welcomed by not only his family members, but a group of souls that were connected to his soul and to others. And I usually call it spirits, but they call it a soul group. And not
is that not the group that you incarnate again with?
Yeah, I have read, and I have spoken to people several times. I've heard that that you travel basically with the same group, which is either good or
Yeah.
bad, depending
Like
on
when
your
you meet somebody,
relationship with your family.
you feel
Hmm.
like you've already known them forever.
Yeah,
That could be
that.
someone in your soul group.
Well, I had a woman, the one that had done some past life work, Mary Jo McCabe, who is a remarkable
Regression.
seer. Yeah, regression. But she, I asked her, "Is this possible?" And she says, "Everyone that you encounter in life that you have an emotional attachment to, at an
You have a
emotional
link.
level, you have a link with, right? And you, in some other incarnation, you have interacted at some point, and it was significant enough, and it's then we don't always basically come back. Although I don't know about that word, but we don't always return as a female or a male. This is where like a daughter returns, and she's the mother, and the mother's the daughter, whatever. I mean, roles are switched in different lives, but there is a group that you do travel with. And that's why people come and go through our lives. The ones that you have for longtime friends, are people that have uh, traveled with you before. But we encounter others that could be in that group to just be there at a certain time, to make us aware or whatever, of something, make us look specifically at the time we're involved in, because I mean, friends do come and go. They cycle in and out of your life. Or if you're like me and a Scorpio, I don't make very many friends.
Well, then
And
we're
I
in
know,
the
I
same
know where
soul
they're
group.
all buried. That's right. Right by the doll baby conjure. No, I just, and the worse the world gets, the more reclusive I become for interaction with it. But, I mean, recently I reconciled with a friend from high school, and you hate to um, talk to somebody. It was 30 something years, right? You hate to
Mhm.
somebody who was really close. And then you say, "Well, I thought you were mad." And then she says, "I thought you were mad." And you're talking about when you were like 14, right? Or 15 years old. And it's like,
And what were you mad about? I don't know.
I don't remember, and she didn't either. And I said, "Well, whatever it is, I'm sorry, and I'm like, look at all these years, we could have been friends. I mean, I can see how my life would have been different." Um, Her name's Kelly, and Kelly and I were like, well, it ended up. I think I recall some of it. It's somebody else who really kind of put the lies in there and stuff and broke, typical high school meanness.
Mhm.
But you can see how different your life would be. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, let's look at it this way. At least she's not somebody. I'm talking to her now. It's 30 something years. At least we didn't get in a fight, and like have a
Mhm.
miserable friendship, and we hate each other now. We never hated each other, but that's the point, of these people cycle in and out of our lives, and if they return, which kind of like everyone returns, and I mean, some people don't, but usually along down the line, you either find out about them, know where they are, find something, or run into them, or actually reach out to them. Um, so I'm not that kind of a person that has a shit ton of friends. Just not. It's not because they don't like me, but it's just, uh, I mean, you are counted as one, and let's see. Hmm. Let me think. Wait, Zeke. Yeah, Zeke's a friend. you know, what I mean. I mean, I don't. A lot of times, let's say, trusting people with anything, like you with your evidence and stuff, it's
Mhm.
just not good. So yeah, when you move around with, I told one girl that I used to talk to, one woman, she asked me, "It can't be in another life that we come back." And I said, "Unfortunately," because she was having real family troubles, and I was like, "Unfortunately, it's true, or it could be true." And she's like, she's like torqued off, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "I killed them in another life." I was like, "What? How do you know this?" Okay, so then you go into, I think, okay, well, so you've never been regressed. And so, here I am like Freud, or, like Jung, telling them, okay, so that's a repressed, you think you murdered them in another life. So you're putting yourself through all this guilt. I'm trying to like psychologically help this person, but it was like, sorry, the people you're connected to all your life or at the time of your death, you're going to encounter them again in various different whatevers, including ex-boyfriends and stuff like that.
Well,
moving on to yes, moving targets. No, but anyway, David Bennett's testimony was enlightening and comforting, and a lot of people had said the same thing. So it seems to gel with the reports of other people. So I think we can kind of know what to expect, but it's still, I mean, somebody calls death the undiscovered country for a reason, and we have to go there alone.
right. I remember his story on one of his death was drowning, and he kind of explained it like he just let go, that it wasn't that bad. Once he, I mean, he did have to fight, I guess, a little to breathe, then suck in all the water and then you drown. But he explained that as just like floating out of your body.
Darkness, yeah.
Right. Until he seen the light. The light came.
Yeah, and it didn't come until he gave into the darkness instead of fighting it.
Right.
And I asked him at the time, because I have a friend, had a friend who drowned. It was one of those, it was a guy who, and I was like in my 30s or adult life. I mean, we were friends from the time my daughters played on soccer teams together, and they went to the same school. So you would look at this person, you'd never think that they would die like that, because he was always like, he jumped out of airplanes, he'd skydiving and raced cars and boats, and traveled all over the world and all kinds. He did everything, that basically people say you better tone it down or you're going to die, right? Well,
adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, and so right by his home, close to home on Lake Pontchartrain on a Memorial Day, like 7 years ago, no, 10 years ago now, he drowned in a lake in an area that he had known all his life. It was just that the day was windy, and the fire department, the chief was his brother, as a matter of fact, and they stayed out there until they found his body. It seemed like, he might have got just turned around with the waves, and because he was trying to jump in to save his wife, quote unquote, who was falling off of a jet ski. Okay. And she survived, was able to pull herself up, but he died. And you never thought. And so I've always thought about, what happened to him. Did he get confused and swim down? Did he get, so David, that's why I asked him when we had him on the show. And it was kind of comforting to know that, at a certain point, you're just enveloped by this uplifting light, that darkness turns to light, and you just, I guess, quit fighting or give into it or whatever. But I never thought that he would die like that. And I guess people who knew David Bennett didn't think he was, but if it's your time, like we were saying earlier, if it's your time, you're just gonna, there's no fighting it.
Yeah.
There's no fighting the power.
He also said that he was able to see some of his Akashic records.
Yeah.
From like previous lives. You have you're connected. Your soul is connected to each life that you incarnate. So in your records, you have all of your feelings, how you treated people with their feelings. You get to see all that in your what did he call it? Your life review.
Your book. Well, that jives with my book, blank. blank. Angry emoji, blank. Like, what the hell are you doing in heaven? I don't know that I'm going to be in hell. Who knows? But that's what he said struck me because I had read previously that is pretty much what, in the understanding of the death experience this was from research in 1924 and from a psychiatrist research in 1990s, and they pretty much all said the same thing that he said, that that you get there, I guess you arrive, and you are shown your life in reverse, basically from your death all the way back, and it's a review, but it's not judgment. It's simply showing you, and because you're there with your your higher spirits, with
You're
the
judging
angels,
yourself, is what he
well,
said.
you're judging, right? You're judging yourself, but you're also able to see at each point, and then they don't, yeah, and they don't say, well, you were a terrible person, let me show you your life, well,
Hmm.
I want some caramel popcorn before you do that. But no, it's like, it's not like this, and then everybody sees it. It's you see your life, and points that you didn't understand and points that needed improvement. Now, someone who believes thoroughly in reincarnation says, well, you're going to go right back and you're going to work it out. And then pagans will say, oh no, you go to the summer land, and you stay there for a little while until your spirit is ready to go back with another soul or whatever, or they send you straight to no collecting the $200 straight to jail, to hell. There you go. And that does happen, but all of these people disconnected over long periods of time have repeatedly said this, that it's an accountability. Now the Catholics believe in purgatory, and some Catholics believe that it's a terrible place, and you don't want to end up there. I don't know that I subscribe to that 100%, because if you're in a place filled with, illuminated by the endless love, etc., and non-judgment, you could be held, I guess, or be prevented from moving on until you reach a full understanding of what you had to do, what you didn't do. But I don't think it's like, I hope it's not like, some Renaissance painting with, the devils and pitchforks and all this other stuff tormenting you, because that would be hell. So I don't
Right.
know. In my mind, purgatory is not that horrible, thing. I'm not sure, but I know it's not a place where a spirit wants to stay. But I don't know,
I feel
very
people
much.
have different levels that they'll have to be on depending on how they live their life on earth.
Yeah, I think that too. And whether they, have improved it by the end of their life when they're ready to go, or, I mean, seriously, some people are going straight to the demons. They, don't pass anything. You're going straight to the black box, and you're, because there are miserable, horrible people in the world. And then, you think, oh, well, Hitler must have went. Well, no, but that guy that starved that dog, and
Hmm.
looked a dying thing in its face, and let it die, he's going somewhere for a little while, and if it's a demon chewing on his ass, I have no problem with that. I
Might
mean,
be the
people,
dog.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
but people think, that it's the big crimes.
No.
It is big crimes, and they're going to be punished in their own way. I mean, talk about people of power and everything in prominence, but it's the little crimes or the
Yeah.
little
Some people are
sins,
just cruel behind closed doors.
and they're cruel for the sake
But
of being cruel.
God
You know,
doesn't sleep and he sees what you're doing. So the
it's true.
secret is out.
It's true. I mean, right before the show,
Yeah.
I've got some jackass telling me, "Oh, is Jesus here?" And blah, blah, blah. Well, laugh all you want, asshole. I don't care. I'm not going to be, you're not going to be at my life review, and I'm not going to be at yours. But everybody's got to account for it. And
Right.
it isn't even so much that bothers me. It's the actual getting there, the going through the death process, which is upsetting because I've seen too many. I don't know. I just don't want to do it, but it's I can't. I don't have a choice. Maybe I'll just lay in bed and die of natural causes. That's what we all hope for. But yeah, I think you're taught your lessons, and it's true when God, when Jesus said the meek, the meek, the last will be first and the first last. It's sort of that pecking order when you come to sins, etc. And so this measly little person starving a dog, or this person stealing out of a register, but doing it repeatedly and being that kind of a personality in the world. Hitler may be standing right beside you, and they'll let him in, and they won't let you in. I'm just using that as a whatever.
Even emotional abuse,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just breaking somebody down to where they're suicidal.
Mm-hmm. And we know, I mean, as a paranormal investigator and, an occultist, we know that a lot of that stuff can be connected to spirits that are around us, that we, that we encounter or that get attached to us for whatever reason. And because a lot of those miserable spirits are stuck out there, and a lot of them know that they can't move on without judgment. They can't move on without owning up to everything that they did. So they just continue to do more in death, in spirit form. And then you have entities or discarnate humans who have stayed out there, a long time because they're scared that when they go to the place, or if they go anywhere else, that they're going to be judged and sent to hell. But they don't realize they're in their own kind of a hell. So you've got all kinds of little bitty sins, things that you never see. I mean, we call it sins, but we can call it wrongs or wrongdoings. It's the people that think continuously how to make somebody's life miserable. Those are the things that, let's say Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, or whatever from history, really evil people, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, all these serial killers, they may get a pass on, especially if they relented or repented, I guess. But I would think that their purgatory would be something to see.
Yeah. So. Lowest level.
Yeah. But the first rung of the 10 rungs of hell. No, I thought we were in the first rung. No, that's going to be on National Ghost Hunting Day. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe not. Anyway, the man in the box is telling us we've got a couple of minutes. We want to bring to mind Spars Paranormal. That's the Paracon event, Gulf Coast Paracon. You can go to their page, SPARS paranormal.com, and find out about the Paracon, and also encountering the spirits of Beauvoir Plantation in investigations with the Spars team. So check it out, and hopefully Joe, you're writing in the room, you will join them and come out and see us. And Bernadine, anybody wants to get with you really quickly?
lspr-society.com.
That's right. Bernadine.
Don't forget iHeart.
Oh, no, I won't. Bernadine at lspr-society.com. If you want to find me, you can go to www.alinecastania.net. You can find me on Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to find out more about conjure. Coming up, we've got Miss Kathy Bilski getting high with the quantum leap, I think is what it's called. Don't forget, we are members of the iHeartRadio network. And at 2 o'clock, and I forgot to do this last week, but at 2 a.m., be sure and tune in again to UPRN for Terminus. Tonight, Dreams of a World Unburdened by Man. So listen in, dark ambient radio, and I guess that's it for tonight, huh? We'll be back. He just wanted to look. We have guests coming up. I know we've got Pete Haviland on July 14th. Who do we have coming up first?
Balefire on July 7th. We have Peter Haviland on July 14th. July 21st, we have Kayla Mathern. Who's a psychic artist. Also does psychometry, trance channeling, energy worker, and meditation teacher.
Yeah, baby. We got a full month on that one. Well, so join us. We have some good guests coming up. Anyway, you guys have a great 4th of July weekend. We will too. And we will see you or talk to you next time. Good night.
Night, night.